Hello, this is H.G. Tudor, and this is the second in the series of Narc Alert, Red Flag Flying. This is a series that identifies red flags for you. Some of them you may be aware of, not necessarily by the name that I will describe, but you may recognize through a different description or title. Some of them you have no awareness at all that this is an indicator that you are ensnared by a narcissist. Understand that each red flag in itself is solely indicative and is not determinative. Therefore, if you spot this red flag, and only this red flag, that does not mean that the person is going to be a narcissist. What you must do is ensure in your dealings going forward that you identify red flags. Therefore, you need to know what they are, and you can do no better in terms of arming yourself by reading my book, Red Flag, which is available on Amazon in both paperback and e-book version, as this will detail 50 red flags with regard to seduction. And this will help you understand what those red flags are and why they are red flags. So you need to know about those. Furthermore, having identified a red flag, you have to pay attention to it. Why? Because your emotional thinking will be fighting to make you ignore it, think that it is benign, euphemize it, dilute it, brush it to one side. Know what the red flags are, and once you have identified them, pay attention to them so that you know that this is an indicator and look for others. And if you find others, run for the hills. You're being ensnared by a narcissist. So, what about the second of these many red flags? Well, it is where you have a situation that the person you're engaging with is over-complimentary. Now remember, someone may give you a lot of compliments. That in itself is not problematic where there are no other red flags. You may well be dealing with someone who is just extremely polite, possibly someone who is somewhat insecure, and not insecure in the sense that a narcissist is, but just generally insecure, and it causes them to provide lots of compliments. It might be that they are a particularly gushing individual, and that is why these elements appear through the provision of lots of compliments. However, more usually, the provision of excessive compliments, both in terms of being disproportionate to who you are, and is also excessive in terms of the frequency of the compliments and the duration of the same. In a normal, healthy relationship at the outset, it is entirely understandable that someone will provide you with compliments about how you look, things that you do, your interests, etc. That is normal. They will, however, be proportionate to you. Therefore, whilst things such as beauty in the eye of the beholder is always trotted out, you'll know how attractive you are. And if someone is flattering you too greatly, it's false and is not representative of the actual situation, and therefore you should be on your guard. Moreover, these compliments will be provided here and there, and it will continue during the relationship, but it will not be on the hour, every hour. A blitzkrieg of compliments. That is the mark of someone who is more than likely going to be a narcissist. Accordingly, during our seduction of you, we will bombard you with compliments as we flatter you into our false reality. There are in effect two red flags which are applicable to the issue of giving you compliments. The first is the volume of compliments, and the second is their relevance. In respect of the volume of compliments, when you are being seduced by a narcissist, you can expect to be on the receiving end of numerous comments every day and all through the day. These compliments will be to your face, then when we telephone you, and through messages and social media. You will see a recently posted picture of yours receive a like, and then a message underneath from us telling you that you look good, or you are showing a great smile, and so on. This heaping of praise is done to draw you to us, make you feel wanted and loved, so that you reciprocate and provide us with positive fuel. It is also done so you become addicted to receiving these compliments. We are conditioning you. Everyone enjoys being praised. Everyone likes to be complimented. And when these compliments are provided by your soulmate and the person you love so greatly, then they take on an even greater significance. Always keep in mind that many of the red flags that I describe in this series work in tandem with one another. Thus, we will claim, as I explained in the first video, there is a spiritual connection between us. We will message you incessantly about this. We will synchronize our likes with your likes so that a combination of these things and others that I will go on to describe in this series will create a cumulative effect which is intoxicating for you. The effect is greater than the sum of its parts, and this dizzying effect on you is part of the reason you miss these red flags or do not pay heed to them. They feel so damn good. Being complimented when you get up, when you leave the shower, over breakfast, as you leave the house, in telephone calls when you arrive at work, throughout the day, on your lunch break, mid-afternoon, and when you are driving home, before receiving more on your arrival back home, over dinner and through the night, through a variety of media, is a barrage. It will feel wonderful. You will feel wanted. You will feel special. You experience a thrill of expectation when you hear the ping of your phone as a message arrives. This is establishing a pattern with you. We are reinforcing a link between you and us. The more we do it, the more we are wearing a groove in your mind as the neural pathway between pleasure and us is created, repeated, and emphasized. This forms the basis of the addiction that we are feeding in you. You are already innately addicted to the narcissist, and we are utilizing this addiction by playing to the pleasant experience of compliments to use it against you. By paying you repeated compliments, we are generating a pattern. This binds you closer to us and also provides a method of creating terrible and hurtful loss when we stop complimenting you during devaluation. Thus, if you are crowned as the intimate partner primary source, you will be devalued in the future, and this will mean that you will suffer the removal of compliments, and therefore the very thing that you experienced each and every day and made you feel wonderful and special will be taken away from you. And consequently, not only will this provoke the provision of negative fuel from you, from your hurt, your distress, your confusion, your upset, possibly even your anger, it will also make you work harder to try and recover those compliments. Even if you do not become the intimate partner primary source, as a intimate partner secondary source, even a non-intimate secondary source, a friend for example, you will find the removal of compliments, particularly in situations where ordinarily you have expected them, will occur as part of a corrective devaluation. The slap across the wrists that we use to get sources which are not primary sources back into line and under our control. Furthermore, the content of the compliments also has the capacity to be a red flag. In the normal course of events, someone may say, "I like that top you're wearing, it really suits you, the colour goes with your eyes," or "That fragrance you are wearing is great. Which one is it? Where did you get it from?" Those are normal and proportionate compliments. In keeping with our need to always go one better than everyone else, we will pay you a compliment, but it is over the top, or entirely unsuitable. What you must remember, of course, is, other than a grater, the narcissist does not sit there and think, well, she's of average looks, but I will tell her that she looks like Salma Hayek or Jessica Chastain. Or, he's not a bad-looking bloke, but I'll tell him that he's got the looks of George Clooney or Ryan Gosling or Brad Pitt. The narcissist does not lie when lesser or mid-range in such a blatant and obvious way. The narcissist actually believes the compliment, even though it is entirely disproportionate and unsuitable. Why? Because the narcissist is infatuated. Everything about you during that seduction period is brilliant. Accordingly, you may have a rather large nose. To the narcissist, it is noble and regal. Of course, at a later juncture, that noble and regal nose will be turned against you and you'll be called Big Nose, or that you'll be said that your nose looks like that of a witch or a crone. But when you are in that golden period, the infatuation of the narcissist causes you to be viewed so that everything about you, your physical features, your job, your money, where you live, your behaviour, who you are, to be looked at through a lens of pure, shining gold. You're painted white, and therefore all about you is good and brilliant. And thus, even if someone were to point out, well, you say she looks like Julia Roberts, but come on, man, she's not that great. The narcissist will disagree. Indeed, if a non-intimate secondary source, a friend, were to make such a remark to the narcissist, they could find themselves on the receiving end of a corrective devaluation. That comment by the friend, accurate as it is, would be challenge fuel. Their surprise and dismay at you thinking that this person looks like Julia Roberts challenges the narcissist. We will provide these compliments, and during this golden period, they will be disproportionate, excessive, and often fairly removed from the actuality of the situation. It may be the case that you have just thrown on some comfortable clothes and we happen to call round to see you without warning. You're not wearing any makeup, your hair needs washing, and whilst you may look attractive in a natural fashion, you know that you won't be winning any awards. We greet you and declare, "Wow, you look absolutely amazing. I love how you have done your hair." Note, there's no actual reference to saying that you look naturally beautiful or, you look different without your makeup, but still in a lovely way. It's an excessive remark to say that you look absolutely fantastic when you clearly do not, and to say that we love how you've done your hair when it's a mess, it's greasy and needs washing, demonstrates the disproportionate nature of the comment by the narcissist. You may even look embarrassed and point out that your hair is greasy and needs to be washed and needs to be styled, but we will disagree and restate our compliment. We may, of course, use the plausible convincing or plausible deniability by saying, "Oh, yes, it might need a bit of a wash, but it still looks really good. You shouldn't be so harsh on yourself. Don't put yourself down." And then you may get the deflection, particularly if we know that you were ensnared by somebody previously who was abusive, even though, of course, most narcissists will not recognise that this was another narcissist. What may happen is, "I know he always puts you down, but I'm not like him." And therefore, that reassurance that is provided, even though it is disproportionate to the actual situation, causes you to be deflected from this red flag. And your emotional thinking grabs hold of that and thinks, "Isn't he lovely? He recognises that I was always put down by my previous boyfriend and he's not behaving the same way." Well, he will, eventually, because he's a narcissist, but that's in the post. You know that the compliment may well be excessive and not really relevant, but you just shrug it off as us being pleasant. We are being pleasant, but of course it's part of that instinctive seduction, and also our capacity for exaggeration, for which we are well known. If you are overweight and out of shape, we may well praise your body for being the best we have known. You may be a competent singer, but after a performance we will hail you as having a better vocal register than Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey when they were in their prime. You shrug and smile, knowing it not to be true, but still, isn't it wonderful to have someone who is so into you that they big you up to such a degree? It may indeed feel wonderful, and this is your emotional thinking seizing on the compliment to cause you to ignore that in actual fact it is a huge red flag. But when this is happening, a red flag is being unfurled, and it is a warning, and you ought to pay notice to this further red flag.